Max Lowen has faced the darkest evil of Earth, the same evil we align with in our toxic systems. She shares how to reach
My
freedom.
name is Max Lowen. I am a psychologist by training. I work with complex trauma, so survivors of trafficking and torture and MK Ultra, SRA, things like that. I myself am a survivor of those things. My website is unbroken.global. I have interviewed other survivors of MK Ultra and SRA and other forms of violence to put people's stories out there because I think we learn from each other's stories. And then it kind of expanded, and I've interviewed whistleblowers of all kinds my goal is to inform people of the global cult, the satanic global cult that runs the world, and how all of this kind of works for a specific agenda. So I've interviewed people who expose all different kinds of that. And then I've interviewed healers of different modalities, teachers. So anything that really, my formula is if we do our inner work and heal our traumas and our mind programs and our patterns, and then we also understand the reality of how the world actually works, that's a winning formula for freedom. So that's what I intend to do with unbroken.global. So I've also done several seminars on mind control, on the truth about the Vatican, on what satanic ritual abuse is in a way that's not too, dark and disturbing. And I've done one recently on the hidden hand, sort of that runs the world. I sort of felt very lonely at some point, being someone who was aware of a lot of things. And so I started a community on Unbroken. So we meet every month on a Zoom. So we have a little group of members, and it's so refreshing. We come together and talk about all kinds of things. And I'm a mother, which I think is the most important job in the world, and to me has been the absolute number one best thing that I've done with my life.
Which is so profound, Max. You're amazing in multiple arenas, but um, from where you came and the fact that you could extricate yourself at 18 and find a life and find a way through, to have a daughter, to have the ability to help fellow survivors of horrific traumas. So take us back. I know this lineage is deep on your mother's side of the family, that you were born into a family where satanic ritual abuse was part of the lineage.
Yeah, I've had a kind of unusual life in the sense, even on my father's side, the American side, um, he was in the Foreign Service. So I ended up growing up in five different countries in Central America and South America and Africa and in Europe. So I grew up speaking many languages, and my mother is the Italian side. And yes, uh, one of her brothers was deep involved in, um, the Vatican, the Italian government, the mafia. They're all kind of one entity. And so, unfortunately, through him, I was taken both to the subterranean levels of the Vatican and to an underground Jesuit facility. And I just want to say that these types of facilities are sort of military, medical experimentation. They exist all over the world under the ground in every country. So this one happened to be in Rome. And so I was put through a lot of torture in the facility, things like electric shock and, rape and beatings and extreme temperatures, being buried alive in coffins, and having to watch the torture and murder of animals and people, being kept in cages and taken to elite parties. So some of them were in beautiful mansions, black tie type, eyed wide shut type events, except in that movie, they didn't show that these events always include children that are being brought to be pedophiled. And then outdoor parties on grounds. They're the hunting parties where the kids go hide, behind trees, but they get found. And I've these parties are really, really unbelievable, horrific. Children are, of course, raped at them and then sacrificed. I've seen babies cooked and brought out on a platter, so these folks eat, human flesh. They drink blood, and these blood rituals I experienced, unfortunately, in the subterranean levels of the Vatican where I was taken. They have a special room with an altar, and babies and young children are brought in. And first, they're tortured and brutalized, so their adrenaline is secreted. And then they're ceremonially sacrificed with a special knife. They're cut open while they're alive, and their blood was collected in these very ornate chalices and drank by the people in attendance at the ritual, which would be basically your VIPs in politics and medicine and actors and actresses, government, global agency heads, these kinds of people. Obviously, the popes and the high level people in the Vatican as well. I was also trafficked, so, given out to different people for different periods of time. And this went on for the first 18 years of my life. Up until 14, it was on and off. So every summer and every winter, no matter what country I lived in, we would go to Rome. I think my mother was programmed to take us there. And then when I was 14 and my parents divorced, I unfortunately was accessed now full time for those last 4 years. So yeah, I got out when I was 18. I came to the US. I was always intended to come study here because my dad's American. I changed my name. I got 3 degrees in psychology, and that's when I began to work with people who had trauma. I remembered some of the things that I had gone through, a lot of the more horrific things, including pregnancies where the child was taken out of me almost at term and sacrificed and things like that. I had blocked out, obviously, like we do. And those memories eventually came back after I had my own child. So I did a deep dive, did a 10-year healing process that was pretty rough. Um, Telling a therapist what I had seen and gone through activated a suicide program they put into me because they MK Ultra'd me as well. And I was able to overcome that and slowly kind of make my way back to, you know, freedom internally. And I did choose to stop working when I became a mother. I did not feel safe leaving my daughter with anyone but me. And it's a decision I'm very happy about because I think I would have regretted it if I just loved being a mom and raising her full time. And then some point when she was older, I started, you start to have more time for yourself. And then I decided to share my story. It took me a long time to decide to do that. I was, hearing about the trafficking of children as we all do, and I was just feeling very frustrated and angry. And I was saying to Source, to God, like, WTF, like this can't keep going. It hurts me. And so I sort of heard, well, then do something, speak out. So that's when it took a lot of courage and there was a lot of backlash internally from me speaking out, but a lot of nightmares and sweats and panic. And then when I started interviewing other people, I, you couldn't tell in the interview, but I was shaking. I'd have to change my clothes afterwards because I was sweating so much. But I pushed through because I think, again, like I said in the beginning, that if we understand how we've all been manipulated and our compassion has been weaponized and we've been lied to, we can take our world back and have, create a different reality. And so I just decided I can't just sit back and let this continue. I didn't survive all of this, just to curl up in a corner. I want to use the rest of my life to do everything I can to end the harvesting of our children because it's our children, our human children on this planet. There's nothing more important than that to me.
You are so brave and have so much strength and a lot of courage. But I have to say, your soul seems made to survive what you did, to be able to
Mm.
escape it as you did, and somehow put the pieces of your life back together and to come to a point where you can speak about it. A lot of us have flashbacks, memories, knowings, but we can't really connect it to what we're sort of feeling, sensing. And I think the darkness is presenting itself in such a way now that it's very hard to push this away. What helped you? Because you lived through this darkness that some of us are only awakening to now. What really helped you not just stay alive, but actually ultimately thrive and come to this point where you're living a very full life? I mean, you're a beautiful mother. You have an incredible support system for others that have gone through similar experiences that you have, and opportunities for all of us. Because I don't think there's a human being on the planet that hasn't experienced some type of trauma with the mind control and what is happening, what's happened to our systems that are supposed to support us.
Yeah. I think it's that awareness that I came in with that there was more to me than this human avatar and this incarnation. So I brought in a memory of having been at some kind of a council meeting with other beings from other, I don't know, planets or places in the universe discussing Earth and what had gone on here. This planet was hijacked by the dark. It was originally a free will planet with a balance of life and dark, but it got overtaken. And so I remember volunteering to come. And so you're right. I think I knew that I would be able to survive and then kind of come back. So it was a gamble, I guess. But if you're going to, when you're not here and you're a benevolent being, you can't interfere in a planet where there's free will, but you can incarnate here. And I think I'm not the only one. I think there's many of us that have done this to be here for this time now, which I believe is actually a time of massive transition when I believe we already have won this spiritual war. And so everything looks really ugly, but the truth is just coming out just in ways I've never seen before because the light is coming in and we're assisted by God, source, and we're assisted by astrological cycles where more light is coming in, and we're assisted by others fighting this war in other dimensional realities. But many of us came here, and that's a pretty badass warrior choice to make for many of us because it's hard here, you know. So I think I decided to incarnate behind enemy lines, learn. I do remember as a little toddler, I was always connected, and the being I was connected to is who we call Jesus. And so I was always communicating with Jesus, and I was transmitting. It was like I was a spy also. So I remember transmitting, okay, this is what's going on. This is what I'm seeing. This is what I'm experiencing. Um, there was a pivotal moment. I remember being very little and thinking that, oh, I'll change these people. I'll make them see that, this isn't the right way. And then, that sort of is like, no, there's no changing them. But I overheard someone say, see, they take children specifically because children are the closest to God. They have the highest light quotient. And then they also identify children who have extra light and maybe gifts, and then they take those children and they train them and they use them for evil because the dark is parasitic. They can't create anything on their own. They need the light to create. So they need us to create, help them create what they're doing, the hell on earth that we see here. So I overheard a statement that, oh yeah, we're gonna get her, abilities. We're gonna get her to do what we want. We're gonna convert her to the dark. And it stuck. That lit something in me, and I thought, oh hell no. No matter what, that will never happen. And it gave me this something to bite down on and to hold on to inside me where I was just determined, like there would be no way they would break me to that point. And so I decided at that moment to survive it. And I knew I needed to survive, and I would be told there would be moments where I just wanted to die or I had died and left my body. And then I was given a choice of to come back or not. And I would always choose to come back. And I understood that that I would survive, that I just had to put some will and strength and courage to survive because I was shown when I was 5, when I was living in Africa, I was shown this. I was lying on the ground outside and I saw the night sky, I saw the stars, and this visual came of the stars shooting down to earth. And I heard that later, if you hang in there, you'll find the others like you. You'll find your tribe, you'll find the people. All of you came here to change this, to right this ship. Well, I mean, what's bigger than that? Like that's bigger than any one lifetime. And so that's what motivated me to get through the hard times. And I mean, I don't want to sugarcoat it. It was it was really hard.
Part of part of the difficulty, really in awakening to what's happening is we're programmed, we're
Yes.
structured to buy into the dogma, the subservience, the allegiance to this darkness. And I know your mind control course on your website is really amazing as it pertains to this. But as we see the Epstein files come, as we see, our rescuers that we're programmed to believe are going to come and save us, not be that at all. How do we move forward as a collective to break through this programming that's still here, even though some of the darkness has left?
Yeah. Well, to address the Savior program, people think it's Trump, people think it's Jesus, people think it's Pleiadians. Think about that for a minute. Would God, source, want us to be victims? Because if you have to be saved, then you're a victim. How disempowering is that? Would we learn anything? Would we grow as a human race? I mean, we've been through this dance with the dark for centuries, and it's been horrible. We'd be susceptible to a takeover again if we didn't learn from that. So that doesn't seem to me to be a reasonable thing. To be saved means we're just children, we're victims. And I think we have an opportunity, as hard as it's been, to grow from this, to evolve from this, to remain the beautiful humans that we are, which you see in children, where we're vulnerable and we're loving and we're open and we care for each other, but add some wisdom to that and add some courage to that. And so I don't think we would want to be saved. That's what I'm saying. And it's not true. That's a program of theirs. Why? So that we do nothing and we stay disempowered. Um, and yes, we have to understand that. So the playbook of MK Ultra, it's trauma-based mind control. The Nazis used it, Mengele used it, the Jesuits used it, and later the Tavistock Institute around 45 at the end of the war, their entire mission statement was to use future shock, so trauma, to herd the global population into literally this reset that they're hoping to do, which I think is failing. The transhuman AI surveillance based, um, you know, new world order. So the playbook is the same one they used on me as individual as they're using on the collective. So wars, I call it convid, was a satanic ritual. 9/11 was a satanic ritual. The violence, the scarcity, there is no scarcity. It's all engineered. The poverty, the stress that humanity is constantly under. There's no need for wars. They're funded on both sides. They're deliberately created. So we're traumatized over and over and over so that we're in shock, so that we dissociate, so that it's easier to mind control and program us to believe that we're nothing, to believe that we're helpless, to believe that these authority figures, whoever they are, actually have any say and can tell us what to do, which is, if you stop to think about it, it's ridiculous. Like, what? We're sovereign, beings. And so it's been a real mind F. I don't know if I can curse on this soon, so I won't. But this has been deliberately done. And so there's the social engineering, and they've done it slowly over decades. So they've moved that Overton window to the point that today you see Satanism is normalized, pedophilia is pretty much normalized. And that's what these people want, because they're a global satanic cult. They have many subfactions, the Jesuits, the Freemasons, the Vatican, the Nazis, the Illuminati, but they work under their kind of one organization. And this is the thing to keep in mind, is they have used a lot of resources, a lot of time, a lot of energy to mind control us through the educational system, through the media. The medical system was created by them to poison us, to keep us sick, to reduce our lifespan, because a sick body creates a mind that's more easily mind controlled. The chemtrails, the food, the water is poisoned. Wow, like what a cornucopia of effort to lower our consciousness, because they don't want us to remember who we really are. We are divine beings in a human body here on this planet. That's our planet. How dare they charge us to live here, or to drink the water, or and then there's the ether, which they've removed. There's earth, fire, water, air, and ether. And they've removed that because that's where the free energy comes. So they could control the energy, with the oil and whatever. So all of this is important to understand. This is how we've been reduced to the state we're in today, where unfortunately people are very compliant. They say, oh, there's a mandate, you have to do this, and people just do it because we've been trained to obey and to forget who we really are. But with all that effort comes, to me, the understanding that, wow, we must be pretty powerful for them to go to such lengths to control. And see, here's the linchpin: everything that's created is created by us. The dark cannot create their parasitic, so they have to go through us, right? So we've co-created this shithole that we now live in with them through being tricked into doing it. But the good news is we don't have to do that anymore. So the people that are, for example, boots on the ground, that are going around, arresting people for social media posts, or injecting children, or teaching children a sexualized curriculum, or flying the planes that spray us, etc., those people, if they don't do the dirty work of the dark, it won't get done. It won't happen. Like, we actually have the power of that we're the creation that they're using, and the power of numbers. It's just that we've been so done to that we feel helpless. And so with the Epstein files, like you mentioned, people are horrified. The people that can take it in feel helpless. Again, they don't know what to do. But if you don't mind, I'll give people some suggestions as to what to do. Just start by unplugging. I call it unplugging from the matrix. Don't buy their corporate products. Don't consume their corporate medicine. Don't work a job where you have to harm your fellow human. Um, I don't vote because I don't consent to be ruled. And they have the different sides to confuse us. They're all work for the same master. They're all the politics is a sort of theater stage of the whole operation. So it doesn't matter who you vote for, it's one of their selections. And so we can withdraw, we can grow our own food, we can educate our own kids, we can make our own clothing that's not made from plastic. We can, we can start to not participate in their disgusting system. We don't need that system. All it does is take our money, make us sick, and control us, right? So if en masse we could just refuse to comply, it's free will. And that's the thing. They have to have our consent to do the evil things they've done and do. But if we don't say no, it's considered implied consent. So we need to just start saying no and not participating, because without, we're the bottom of the pyramid, we hold it up. If we withdraw participation and consent, that's it for them.
It's so well put and so the truth. I too, I'm following in your footsteps. And I've never been more aware. I always felt like, oh, let other people handle, that. I don't want to really know about that. I'm getting so aware and I am writing letters and I am not participating and I am extricating. And I too am getting way more involved locally, like
Yeah.
knowing my neighbors is even a positive step. Whereas before, it wasn't really even encouraged. I mean, I saw it at my son's little dog run. It's one dog in at a time. You don't even like take your dog in to engage with the other dog at his little doggy run area in his apartment. And I can see how it's really filtered down through our social systems. So I think conversations like these, and certainly your voice, can help awaken us because I too agree that we have free will, but we have not used it because we've been so trained into allegiance and not asking questions. I think our esteem is on the ground for most of us, and we're so beaten down by what it just takes to survive these days. But that can totally shift, and there's the hope. And I really want to encourage people. I'm going to put some other links down in the description of other presentations you've made because you can go really into depth. There's a lot of depth. There's a lot of great resources on Max's site, Unbroken Global. And you're not alone in this. There are ways to break free, and this is such a great time to do it because I feel the energy shifting. I've never seen darkness and truth come forward like it is, and we can step up.
Yeah. And their agenda has been to globalize everything slowly over decades. So the way to undo that is to localize everything. Everything should be local. Like you said, get to know your neighbors, particularly in the US, that's not a thing. If times get hard, then people can, I mean, when there's an unnatural disaster, because their weather warfare is, they call it climate change, but it's really weather warfare. Whenever they do one of these things, what do people do naturally? They all pour out, they help their neighbor, they donate clothing, they take people in. That's who we are, and we can start doing that at a community level. I mean, if everybody can't grow food in their backyard, there could be community gardens. There could be, if we start to connect with each other, during COVID, they encouraged all this separation, 6 feet apart. Well, the heart field is about 6 feet around us, so that's interesting. They don't want us connecting. They don't want us loving. They've tried to eliminate compassion, love for each other. They've divided us with everything they can think of: gender, race, religion, party, vaccination status, you name it. They've found a way to, well, because that's one of their fears, that we come together. We don't have any other enemy but them. That's it. You know, we could live together in harmony if we want to. And so, yeah, go local in every way you can. That's one huge solution. I'm glad that you said that.
Is there anything else you wanted to add before we conclude the conversation. I just really wanted a short bite because it can be really overwhelming. But what you've shared today is so profound, and there's no way that I can argue with your direct experience and how that plays out now. And it's not just the children that are being trafficked and controlled. We are as a species.
Yeah. Yeah. We've all been abused as a human race, but guess what? Abuse is very healable. Go in, do your healing work, and regulate your nervous system. Because once you do that, you do the inside, all the abilities will come back, your telepathy, manifestation, self-healing, and you'll will be able to create beauty. Let's create a heaven on earth. That's what I'll leave you with, because we can.
I love that. Thanks, Max.